Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Stu McLaren. It's great to have you join us today.
Thanks, Rocky. Appreciate it. Great to be here.
And I'm excited to learn from you. Can you share a little bit about yourself and your business?
For me, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I went through business school, but when most of my friends and colleagues went the corporate route, I was like, that is not for me. I am not a shirt and tie kind of guy. And so I quickly started my own business right out of the gates. And the short version is it led me to where I had a client-based business. I was consulting small business owners. This was around 2008, and things were going great, like rocking. I was happy. Business is good. I was doing the thing that I wanted to do. My wife and I had just gotten married a year earlier, so life was great. But there was this moment when my wife would bring up the conversation of having kids, and I really wanted to have kids. That was looking forward to being a father. But every time that conversation came up, there was like this, twisting in my stomach, like a knot in my stomach. And I couldn't figure out why until I had this epiphany moment. And what I realized was the thing that was causing me anxiety about having kids was that the business model that I was in, it was a great business, but not a great business model. And what was happening was I was working night and day. I was up early, working late nights, and my schedule was determined by my schedule, not my own. And so the thing that was causing me anxiety was that I knew the only way to grow that business was to give more of my time, and I didn't have any more time to give. And I also knew that now that I recently got married and we're looking to start a family, if I wanted to be a present, something had to change. And that was the turning point for me where I moved to a membership model, thanks to the advice of a mentor and friend who said, hey, just teach what you're doing for all your clients to other people. And that'll give you the ability to be able to teach once and be able to help so many more people and be able to do it at scale. And then from there, I ended up immersing myself, and the software back then was not what it is today. And so I ended up creating a software solution with a friend of mine, and it just took off. And before I knew it, we were powering tens of thousands of membership sites. And that's really where I learned what worked and what when it comes to growing a membership. And really, since that point in time, I have been helping tens of thousands of people be able to launch and grow memberships in all kinds of markets, from photography and calligraphy to fitness and finance and music and art and health and dog training, you name it, like every market you could probably think of. We've been helping them launch their memberships and grow these memberships. And that's what I've been doing now for nearly 2 decades, is just focused on this one thing, which is helping people launch, grow, and scale membership.
And I love that you pivoted. I see so often that people create a business, but they don't spend enough time to look at the business model to say, will this achieve what I want it to achieve? And how does the math work out?
Yeah.
And I notice that a lot. When you can actually plot it out ahead of time, then this is a good model, this is not a great model, or these are the limits of this model, and be okay with that and say, you know what, I can work 40 hours a week. This model will do that, and I can live with that, or I can't live with it. And if you can't, figure out a different way to go.
Yeah, I think we all have that instinct, where we know it's like maybe we're in a season of business and we're like, okay, well, it's just going to be busy for this season. But it's the same season nonstop. And you're kind of like, yo, at what point are we going to take a step back, like you said, and just evaluate it? And for me, it was the moment that, when I realized, if I'm being honest with myself, it's a great business and I'm grateful for the clients that I get to work with, but it's not a great business model because I was trading my time, for money. And although it was great money, it's still my time. And, if I'm looking at that point to start my family, I knew I wanted to have my time dedicated to those that matter most. So something had to be there.
We're going to dig into that. Before we do, you're familiar with Profit First, right? Do you have a story behind that, or how'd you learn about it?
Yeah, definitely familiar with Profit First and Mike. I think the thing that dialed me into it was I wanted to build a business where I got paid along the way. I didn't want to build a business that I was hanging on and clinging on to the hope that someday, one day, I could maybe sell it and then have a payday down the road. I wanted to get paid all along the way. And so Profit First was, a great step in that direction and in keeping us locked in and focused. And yeah, so love Mike's work, love Profit First, and definitely influenced the way in which we pull money out of our business and make sure we get paid.
And at the end of the day, that's the purpose of business, to give you time freedom and money freedom. And if you didn't build that, or you don't do that, or the systems don't support that, then you're not going to achieve it. And so you have to put a little bit of attention to that and kind of know how to do it. I very much enjoyed reading your book, and there's a quote here that I think is a perfect place to start. You say, running your business should feel light and simple, but multiple surveys of small business owners reveal that the financial concerns are the number one source of all stress for small business owners. You and I are in alignment. Business should be easy. If you think business is supposed to be hard, you're going to make your business hard, right? And if you don't realize your business is supposed to be profitable and the cash comes to you, then you're going to struggle. And a lot of it is just a mindset around it.
Yeah, it's it's a philosophy too. And point, like, I just believe that we attract what we're looking for. If we're looking for complexity and difficulty, then we'll find it, and we'll find it everywhere, But in the same sense, if we are looking for things to be easy and we ask ourselves other questions like, how can I make this easy? How can I make this simple? We will then find the answers. Our brains go to work, our brains go to work to find the answers that we're asking. And so to me, like, we all to do. And at the end of the day, if we can center our focus on the few things that matter, like the 20% that's going to make 80% of the difference, then we're in a much better use of our time, energy. So an example, like when I'm consulting clients and I reserve 1 day a month for one-on-one consultations, always with every single, my first question that I'm asking myself before I go into that is this a traffic problem, a conversion problem, or a retention problem? Like, are they, number one, struggling with traffic, like getting what they have in front of the right people? So if the answer is yes, it's a traffic problem, okay, full stop. Don't even worry about anything else. Like, this is where we need to be in focus, because if we can't fix that, it doesn't matter how good we are at converting or retaining people, it's not going to matter, right? So is it a traffic problem, or is it a conversion problem? If it's a conversion problem, meaning they're getting in front of plenty of people, just people aren't buying, then okay, we stop there. That's what we focus on. Or like, how do we improve conversion? Or let's say that plenty of people are buying, they're just not staying as part of the membership. Then that's where we put our energy and focus. So for me, it's just like boiling it down to its simple components. And this is an example of like one of those ways to make it simple. Are many ways simple, I think, overcomplicate things too often.
The process that you're using, what you're essentially talking about, is 3 or 4 levers in the business. And we look at all businesses through 16 levers. And it's like you said, you look at the levers, you figure out which one's broken, and then you fix that lever and you make it through that type of focused attention. I have found most business owners want to complicate things. If you show them simple, they like take profit first. Profit first is simple. Everyone's like, oh, that won't work. It's too simple.
Right.
Why is that? Why can't we just do simple?
I think, honestly, it's because it holds people accountable. And subconsciously, people are looking for a reason to explain why they are or are not successful. So if it doesn't pan out, then it's like they then internalize it differently. It's, it didn't work out because of this reason or that reason or this reason or that reason. But when it's simple, those reasons are gone. It's like those excuses aren't there. And so then it comes back to them. And that's hard to take sometimes. So people do overthink, they do over-engineer, they do overcomplicate things, and it prevents them from making meaningful progress. But if we can just keep it simple, then business, Nelson Mandela, he said, I never lose. I either win or I learn. And that's what we want in business. We want to experiment. We want to try. We want to learn as quickly as we can, because that's how we're going to make meaningful progress. But if we overcomplicate things, over-engineer things, what happens is we stall our progress. We're just like spending all this time doing all this unnecessary stuff, prevents us from making any meaningful progress. And so I actually think it's a defense mechanism that people make things complicated, maybe unintentionally on a subconscious level, but it's a way for them to be able to have an excuse if things don't pan out.
Interesting ideas. So you're great at membership models. And I think a lot of people listening are like, well, can I do a membership model or how do I do a membership model? And for
Mhm.
me, off the top of the head, it's like there are now concierge doctors. You pay a flat fee for the year. It's a membership model, right?
Yeah.
There are models where, well, Amazon will do it, subscribe and save, and every month they send you whatever it is that you want. Membership model. There's other kinds of membership models. Like what are some of the ones that are a little bit more unique or out that business owners just might not even be aware of?
Yeah. One of like the fun part about memberships is they are all around us. Like you mentioned a couple, but if we take a moment and just pause for a second, we begin to see that there are memberships everywhere in our lives, whether it's like Netflix or Spotify or your gym membership or services that maybe you have people are coming back on a regular basis. Like here in where I am in Canada, like snow removal or lawn care services. Like these are all membership models. They're just different types. And in the book, specifically in chapter 20, I talk about 4 different types of membership models. And we can break them down here real quick if you want. But number 1 is like a product-based membership. So for anybody that's selling like a physical product, the question I would encourage you to ask is like, how can we take this from a one-time transaction and turn it into a recurring membership model? Now, the Dollar Shave Club is probably the most example. They took a simple razor and they just had this epiphany moment, which was like, oh my gosh, like fellas are having to buy razors on a regular basis. Why don't we just offer this as a membership model? And they went from a transactional business to a membership model. And in 4 years, that company was worth over $1 billion. Like that's how crazy that was. That's just simply taking a one-time physical product and turning it into a membership. This is where now you see like coffee of the month, tie of the month, underwear of the month, like shoes of the month, you name it. Like there's all kinds of the month clubs, but those are product-based memberships. So that's one example. Another example is a service-based membership, and same concept, just applied to services. A couple examples, there's a barbershop up here in Toronto. Instead of hoping that their clients come back, they instead have structured their pricing around a membership model. Clients pay a membership fee and they get so many cuts per month. Now, what does that do? Well, number 1, it creates stability in the business because they're not hoping that people are coming back. They know with certainty that at the beginning of the month, they're going to get paid all of those members. It also creates a much steadier service for those clients because they're able to book in advance. They're able to get the service that they're looking for. And we've seen this apply to like Mary Claire Fredette in our community as an example. She's a massage therapist. Instead of hoping that clients come back, she created a membership and they get a certain number of massages each month for that membership fee. Now, interestingly enough, I caught up with Mary Claire like 3 years membership and I was asking her about it. I said, have you launched your membership again? She said, no, I haven't. And my heart initially sank. I was like, oh no, like what happened? She's like, no, I haven't needed to. Like still have over 80% of the members who joined 3 years ago are still with me today. So if we just take a minute and just think about that, like that changes the whole dynamics of her business. She's not, again, hoping that sales are going to be the same or better than they were last month. She knows with certainty how much she's going to get paid. And so we've seen this with barbershops, massage therapists, car washes, all the like. These are service-based businesses. Now, the third type is the playground that I spend the most time in. These are what we call knowledge-based or information-based memberships. And this is really where you're doing one of 3 things. You're either helping people solve an ongoing problem, like weight loss. Like somebody's not going to go from overweight to their ideal weight like that. It takes time to solve that problem. That's perfect for a membership. Or number 2, teaching people a skill. So similarly, you're not going to go from not knowing how to paint to becoming the next Picasso like that. It takes time to learn those skills. That's perfect for a membership. Or third, which is creating convenience for people. So good examples of this is that we have many teachers in our community who have created resources for other teachers. So my wife was a teacher for 10 years and she spent her evenings and weekends lesson planning. That's a huge pain in the butt. So what these memberships have done is they've said to the teachers, hey, you don't need to worry about that. Just pay this monthly fee and we'll give you the lesson plans. And that's like a breath of fresh air for those teachers, right? And we've seen this same model be used for, I think of Andrew Kraus over in Australia. He has a membership site for real estate agents. He provides them Facebook ad templates. So they don't have to become the expert. They just use his templates, swap out the information, bada bing, bada boom, they got winning ads. Or Nicole Melton, she serves people in the beauty industry and she provides them social media templates. So with an information-based membership, you're either solving an ongoing problem, teaching a skill, or creating convenience for people. And then the final, this is where, people pay, to belong to a community. The old-fashioned golf club is a perfect example, right? Like more often than not, people are paying to belong to that community. So we got product-based memberships, service-based memberships, knowledge-based memberships, and community-based memberships. And I think once you begin to open up your mind, you start to see, hey, wait a minute, like these pretty much apply to most businesses. There's a model there for everyone. And that's really what I am an advocate of. And that's why I hope, the book, Predictable Profits, because I want this for every business owner to get their membership recurring revenue.
Even Costco is a membership model. They make all their profit off of the membership, not off
Over
the same
70%.
thing Amazon.
Yeah,
Amazon.
over 70% of that Costco revenues come from the membership, not what they're actually selling in the warehouse.
It's funny how that is. My business is a membership model. It works on the same principle. It's because I figured that out ahead of time. Like build a business model that's easy and doesn't cause fuss. At the beginning, you said what works and what doesn't. So what works and what doesn't in these models?
Well, one of the ideas that's completely counterintuitive to what most people would think is that you actually close your doors to the membership. Like you don't let people join the membership. And this is completely counterintuitive because I know probably people watching are like, wait a minute, Stu, like we're in business. Like we want our doors open. We want people to be able to buy from us whenever they need it. But what we discovered in watching and analyzing tens of thousands of memberships is that those who open a few times a year actually saw significantly more growth. And I'll give you an example. So Allie Kay is a woman in our community, and she has a membership teaching people how to paint. Now, for 2 years, she had the doors open 24/7. People would come to her website, they'd be like, oh yeah, this is great. And they join. And she had an open marketing model. Then after coming into our community, she learned about what we teach, which is a closed marketing model. And that means that, 90% of the time your doors are closed. You only open a registration window open a few times a year. Now, she was admittedly scared to try it, but she's like, you know what? To her credit, she leaned in and was open to the idea. The very first time that she did this, she had a gigantic result because for 2 years, she had it open and she had welcomed 1,400 members, roughly 1,400 members. When she closed it and did a promotion following this closed marketing model, she welcomed more than 3,000 members in a single week. So it took her 2 years to welcome 1,400, and in 1 week, she welcomed more than 3,000. And the psychology behind this is that when you create a limited registration window, a natural sense of urgency for people to join. When they come to your website and they see that it's open all the time, what the vast majority of people do is they're like, oh, this looks great. I'll save this for later. And then later never comes around. And so when you have a closed marketing model, it naturally has that sense of urgency. And so when you do open, more people say yes, and they get off of the thinking train and they get on the doing train and they join the membership. So that's an example of something that works that you wouldn't normally think would work.
And that makes a lot of sense. You're creating barriers and you're creating that surge of interest. And again, people don't want to miss out. So there's a whole bunch of FOMO. And the nice thing is you only have to focus on sales for that period of time.
Bingo. You just hit on something that I think is really important for people, because when you have a closed marketing model, you need to be in constant marketing mode and hustle mode and sales mode. Instead, you can just focus on actually helping your members. And so what happens is that your members get better results and it increases retention. So you're actually working less and making more. It has so many benefits, but bottom line is that it's counterintuitive and it's not, doesn't line up with traditional marketing methods. And so it can feel awkward in the beginning, and it can certainly be scary, but it's proven to work over and over and over again.
So what doesn't work?
Well, I'll tell you the number one reason that people cancel from a membership is overwhelm. It's not that they don't think you're great, not that they don't think the membership is great. It's just that they're so overwhelmed with how much content you're providing inside that they don't end up using it, and therefore they cancel. And so one of the big mistakes that people make is they give too much. And that's the thing that creates overwhelm. And again, this is counterintuitive because the natural is going to be, well, the more I give, the more value I create. But that's not true in the membership world. It's the principles apply to whether it's a physical product membership, service-based membership, knowledge-based membership. Like if you're loading people up with more razors than they can consume, it's a matter of time before they see all the razors stacking up and they say to themselves, you know what, I'm not using this. I might as well just cancel until I need to join again. Or if they're not using the massages, I'm going to cancel because I'm not using it because they feel guilty about it. Or when they join information-based and they come in because there's so much information that they're overwhelmed and they don't know where to start, and that plants a seed of doubt. And so one of the biggest mistakes that people make, Rocky, is they overwhelm people and they give way too much, and it creates that overwhelm and people cancel. Again, great news. You don't have to work as much. You don't have to provide as much, and you'll have a more successful membership.
And I get that. It's funny how much of business is counterintuitive throughout the process. I will say I read the book, and what I really enjoyed is you went step by step, and the examples were there. They were extremely clear. And at first I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to be able to do all this stuff? And then I'm like, you know what? I have ChatGPT now.
Yeah.
Between that and this, the two can go together, and I can build faster than I've ever been able to build.
Yeah.
And
100%.
so it just kind of removes the barriers. And again, you can't just outsource. You have to have good conversations and learn how to properly prompt and talk about it. The good thing is we have like 250 plus episodes here of content that I can teach chat with to say, this is how I behave. I want you to do it.
Well, and in the book, I give a ton of resources. So if you haven't checked it out yet, Rocky, I definitely encourage you to, because there's a ton of resources and prompts to help you be able to implement the things that we're talking about. But if we just come back to the very thing that we talked about at the start of today's conversation, which was keeping things simple. So in the beginning, the most simple thing that you can do, in fact, I talk about it, where is it? In chapter 16, it's called the fastest and easiest way to launch your membership. And this doesn't require you to go and create a whole bunch of stuff ahead of time. It requires you to craft one single message that you will post wherever you most commonly communicate with your audience. Maybe that's on Facebook. Maybe that's on LinkedIn. Maybe that's via email. Maybe it's on a podcast like this. Like wherever you communicate with your audience, you craft one message. And in chapter 16, I walk you through that message. But essentially, like, you're going to invite people to join your membership before you've even created anything. And this is one of those counterintuitive things. You're like, wait a minute. What are you talking about? Like inviting people to pay for a membership that I haven't created? Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Because what you're going to do is you're going to offer those people the founding member price. This is the rock bottom lowest price to join your membership. And you're going to be upfront and explain that you don't have anything created. You're going to cast a vision for where you see it going. And you're going to invite people to come and join as a founding member, because they'll be locked in at that low founding member price for as long as they remain a member in good standing. And what that does is it gives them an incentive and a win, because they get in at a low price that they'll forever be locked in at that low price. And it gives you a win. You're able to begin working with members, people who are actually interested in what it is that you're doing. And it also begins to generate cash flow up front. And now you've got people that you can work with to craft the membership experience that you're creating, knowing that it's aligned with what the market actually wants. Now, I know the elephant in the room is like, well, what if I put this out there and nobody shows interest? That's a good thing. That's a good thing, because like we haven't gotten something that people don't want. We can adjust our messaging before we've done all those things. And so that's the beauty of just keeping things simple. So my encouragement to everybody is like, you don't need to go and create a whole bunch of stuff in order to begin reaping the benefits of a membership. Keep it simple, and you can do a founding member launch, and you can begin welcoming members, and then work with those members to identify like how you achieving the goal outcomes, and it's a win-win for everybody.
And I will say this, the one thing I enjoyed about the book is even if you don't decide to do a membership site, if you're struggling with marketing and how to position yourself, the book teaches you all of that. Just on its own is how do I market to my clients regardless of what you're selling them. You could sell them your current product, and I think you did a great job of laying that out, of talking about the pain points and how to be able to do that in different channels and everything else. There's another thing that you talked about in your book, and I think this is one that a lot of business owners ignore: retention rates. And how often does your client buy from you? Because that is super important. I'd love for you to,
unpack it a little bit. Well, listen, when a customer buys from you, that's a good thing. But when a customer comes back and buys from you again and again and again and again, that's an amazing thing. And that's exactly what retention is all about in the membership world. We're not interested in a customer buying from us one time. We're interested in a customer buying from us month after month after month after month. And that's what makes a membership and subscription business so much more valuable than an additional business, because of the lifetime value of the customers. And so at the end of the day, this is my simple stew explanation of retention, is that the reason customers are going to continue paying is because they're happy and satisfied and they're getting some kind of a result. And so it actually simplifies business, because we're in the business of keeping our people happy. As long as they're happy, they'll continue paying. So we therefore must obsess over two key things. Number one is consumption, and number two is engagement. As long as they're consuming the content or the products or the services that you're providing in the membership, then they're gaining value. And if they're engaging with it, like they're actually using it, then they're going to get the results. And it's the results that will keep them paying in the membership. It's the progress and people the progress that they're making. So it's just like, at the end of the year, if you belong to Spotify at the end of the year will send you what they call their Wrapped. They kind of made it, famous, where they'll send you kind of a recap of all of the top songs, all the artists, all of the music that you've listened to, all the hours of music. What they're doing is they're reminding you of the value that you've received, by using their service. Peloton does this in the same way. So you've worked out using the app, like it's a reminder of how much progress you've made. And so with retention, we want to be focused on consumption and engagement. That leads to progress, and the progress is the thing that leads to results.
And that is key. And that's why I said, even if you don't want to do a membership model, the book gives you tips on how to at least market and think with your existing clients and how to do a better job of that. So I really enjoyed that. Is there anything we should have talked about that we didn't get a chance to talk about yet?
Well, great question. I mean, I think at the end of the day, memberships are all around us. And what I want to encourage people to do is to start thinking about it, because it is a shift in thinking and it's a shift in the approach. But in making that shift, what happens is you go from a business that's full of uncertainty, not knowing like what's around the corner. And by the way, like as business owners, we've all experienced this. Even recently, like COVID, like how many businesses would have ever imagined that they would be told, no, customers cannot come into your restaurant. No, customers can't come into your store. No, everybody's got it. Forced so many businesses to completely reimagine the way in which they deliver their products and services. And that's an uncertainty that nobody could account for. Or even recently, like when the US government was like, oh, we're banning TikTok. Oh, no, we're not. No, we're banning TikTok. And like all these creators, millions of them, are like, oh my gosh, like their businesses in an instant, like, you know, full of uncertainty. Or like when, you know, now with the tariffs and like all these businesses, their costs are going up. No, they're not. Yes, they are. It's just crazy. There's so much uncertainty. And that's why finances is the number one source of stress for business owners. And what I just want to encourage people is that you can eliminate that. You can eliminate that uncertainty when you have a predictable, recurring revenue source. And that's what a membership provides. And with that comes confidence, the confidence to know that how much money you're going to begin the month with before you even go out and do anything. And that means you can invest in marketing. It means you can invest confidently in your team. And it just changes you as a business owner from reacting to being much more proactive. And that's why I'm just, you know, wrote the book. That's why I'm here on my, you know, stage, so to speak, trying to encourage as many business owners as possible to just shift the thinking, start asking yourself, how could I buy from me? And instead turn it into a recurring benefit. It's a benefit for you, and it creates a heck of a lot more stability for everybody.
I will say, I've really learned how much emotions are tied to how much revenue comes in. You feel it, right? And you make decisions on it. And when you know it's predictable and you begin the month with a full bank account, life that month becomes pretty simple, right? You do what you need to do, you focus on what's important, and you go about doing it.
And you're much more creative too, because you don't have that same pressure and stress. And I think that right there is the thing that will lead to many more business owners experiencing a lot more breakthroughs, because they can be more creative. They can open themselves up to experimenting and trying new ideas. And it's because they've got the stability of that recurring revenue.
One of my clients said to me, he goes, because I was asking him how it was going, he said, yeah, when there's money in the bank, I learned to say no to clients that I don't really want to deal with. And he knows, because every time he takes one of them on, it turns into a disaster that he loses money on because he should have never done it. But because there's no cash in the bank, you know, that creates that issue. So it does help with all of that. Sleep better, work less, make more. It's all about predictable profits, and we love that here. If people would like to learn more about you, the book, how do they go about doing that?
Well, they can find the book on all the major retailers. It's called Predictable Profits, and you can find it on the Amazons, the Barnes Nobles, local bookstores, or you can just go to my website, stu.me. And if you add /book on the end, you'll find the details about the book there as well. But stu.me/book.
Cool. We'll put that in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us.
Cheers. Thanks, Rocky.
Hey, thanks for listening to the entire unedited video of the Profit Answer Man podcast. You can actually get the full podcast in audio only format here on YouTube or any other of your favorite podcast players. Don't forget to go check out episodes 1 through 13. They lay out the foundation of Profit First in the book and how to get started. In addition, we've got hundreds of episodes for you to check out. And if you remember to subscribe, you'll always be updated when we put a new one out every single week. Thanks for listening. Have a profitable week.